you out of breath.
Yeah.
Good job. Hello and welcome, Grand Rapids. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm your anchor, Sarah Wenger.
And I'm your other anchor, Sean Francis. And because if you're like us, you're just holding on to whatever positivity you can find just by staring at this picture of real-life SpongeBob and Patrick. You know, refreshing that page over and over is the only thing keep getting us through. We are bringing you, because you might be like us, the top local and national and world news that you may have missed.
You're welcome, Grand Rapids. This is
NewsFlash, our top story tonight, with the Delta variant wreaking havoc and COVID numbers in general just shooting up all over the country. People are trying to figure out how to maybe motivate the 93 million people eligible who have yet to be vaccinated. Many are hoping that if either the Pfizer or Moderna vaccines get the full FDA approval, it would encourage 3 out of 10 of those individuals who have yet to be jabbed to go ahead and admit that, yeah, maybe they're safe enough. For the remaining 65 million, some may be resistant due to health reasons, religious reasons. Others are just trying to maybe screw the rest of us over. Who knows? Maybe the FDA could officially announce a new lib-owning vaccine that will give claim to all the same benefits of those gas station sex pills.
okay.
So let's see, maybe one more. There we go.
There we are. Right on.
Ooh.
A Russian woman is suing McDonald's for making her break her fast of meat during Lent due to being bombarded with ads for the fast food chain. She accused the company of breaking consumer protection law and insulting her religious feelings, which led her to being unable to resist going to the nearest restaurant for a burger. No clue on how many cases this may inspire for husbands seeking a defense against their wives for opening Ashley Madison accounts. The ads were just so tempting, honey, I couldn't resist.
Ugh. Advertising. Ugh. Comedian Dave Chappelle added 3 shows to his already sold-out run of surprise shows starting tomorrow at the Detroit's Fillmore Theater. If he spends any more time, he might as well just move into theater and finish Kanye's album himself.
No one else is doing it.
Yep.
Dr. Fauci is now issuing warnings that unless the large portion of unvaccinated Americans get their second shot soon, we could be facing another strain of COVID deadlier than the Delta variants in the fall, putting everyone at risk again, not just the unvaccinated. Dr. Fauci is even more worried in the event of another variant because he forgot what letter comes next in the Greek alphabet. Is it epsilon, kappa, sigma? We're going to need to start hazing scientists to figure this one out. Please don't let it come to that.
Yeah, please. Jeff Bezos is officially dethroned as richest person on the planet after he lost $13.9 billion in one day. But don't worry, that's like the equivalent of a Big Mac to him. NewsFlash is unable to reach Bezos for comment because he had locked himself into his own Amazon booth at HQ. The new reigning bajillionaire who has been edging for first with Bezos for the past few months is French tycoon Bernard Arnault, who owns properties such as Sephora, Louis Vuitton, and Tiffany. So let's welcome in the new champ by celebrating in true French fashion. Yeah, especially that last bottom one.
Yeah, right? The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or as abbreviated by my little cousin, NOAA, has issued a La Nina watch for this winter. If a La Nina weather pattern forms, Michigan will have a colder second half of winter, whereas if an El Nino forms, that generally means a milder winter for the state. Of course, weather patterns are no longer predictable thanks to climate change. Used to be you could count on La Nina freezing your keister off, and you could depend on El Nino to deprive school children of their long 4 snow days. But if there's a warm front over Oklahoma, you might just end up with El Nino.
Mm-hmm. Hey.
Nowadays, it kind of feels like a cruel gender reveal party, in which, regardless of it's a boy or a girl, you still get a Michigan winter, and then to top it off, you have to contend with the unpredictable drunk uncle of global warming, setting the house on fire with his off-brand, ill-gotten, fly-by-night, surprisey, explodey fireworks. Of course, we also shouldn't forget to exclude the possibility of non-binario, in which case all bets are off.
Yeah, we don't know. Yeah, it's weather. Speaking of weather, we all know that some people are extremely passionate about the weather, but sometimes that passion can be carried a bit too far. Here is an example of a meteorologist who might have his own storm of brewing that he might want to redirect to the netherworld of weather fan fiction. Yeah, so we've got here this article that was in MLive. Michigan's weather has one period of vigorous thunderstorms. Here's the timing on a spurt of stormy weather coming across Michigan this weekend. And just look at that spurt across that Michigan map there on the radar. Make sure everyone wears their rubbers this weekend.
Oh, no.
And just look at that last bullet point talking about potential beach closes due to contamination. You know, that can happen when the aforementioned activity is a little bit too vigorous, and until the antibiotics take effect, that biatch is closed. Now, some of you may be thinking you were exaggerating this news article, but look at the author's last name, Mark Taragrossa, meaning tall tower in Italian. Just makes sense that this guy would have a name for a massive erection.
Okay, talk about warm front with moist conditions. Am I right?
Yeah. I got you.
Somebody better check on his weather balls. You know what they say, weather balls blue, you got a screw. Weather balls red, we see a med. Not right. Weather balls blinking white, gonna be up all night.
Yeah. A 39-year-old woman from Cedar Springs has been found guilty of embezzling over $24,000 from the Peewee Baseball League she was treasurer of for several years. In other news, Peewee Leagues have enough money that they can just lose 24 grand and no one notices. After she was voted off the board, they noticed a surplus of funding when in the past there had never been enough money to make repairs or purchase new equipment. Actually, she had been initially voted off because she kept insisting that the boys share jock straps to cut on costs. So, yeah, no, not good. Investigators found records of multiple unapproved ATM withdrawals, hotel and rental car purchases fraudulently attributed to the board. But shockingly, she mostly hid the money at third base. You know, it's Peewee baseball. No one's going to find it there.
The board claimed they got suspicious when the snacks she would bring changed from apple juice and crackers to champagne and caviar. The woman has been sentenced to 10 days, which is ridiculous, but pretty typical for this sort of white-collar crime. A more suitable punishment, we think, would be to make her watch any kid other than her own try to play Peewee baseball.
Yeah.
Very bad athletes. Her legal team said even though her lawyer lost the case, he could still have ice cream on his way home.
Yeah, there he goes. Got his cone. That's okay. That's all but. GR Chief of Police Eric Payne announced his retirement for next year, and when asked what he will do with his time, he said, continue to do nothing about police reform. Some of the things he does plan to do, open his own window installation business, House of Pain, catch and release fishing reform, and de-escalating his kids' dreams of grad school.
I just read that one. While there is still time before his retirement date, the search for possible replacements has already begun. And potential candidates include, we've got Dan Hassel.
Ooh,
that guy.
Thanks.
Bobby Hardass.
Ooh.
Tim Kickham. Sally Ballbuster. She's been removed from the list already for being a woman. And acclaimed actor John Hurt.
Yeah, there it is. Fun with names. The city of Grand Rapids ranked as the 103rd best city to own a cat in a study of 200 of the biggest cities in the U.S. according to Lawn Star. Yet again, making us most mediocre city. Each city received a score out of 100 points for each of the 11 categories, which included animal shelter access, vet access, cost of cat sitting, and cat-friendly rental properties. It turns out just one cat cafe, isn't enough to bring us over the hump.
It's not enough. The other Michigan city on the list was Detroit. It ranked as one of the worst cities at 197. which makes sense considering how poorly they treat lions and tigers. Not well.
Yep.
Not well. Interestingly, nobody bothered to ask the cats themselves, as they reportedly had their own list, which is just every city tied for last. They don't care. Some skeptics believe this whole list was just paid propaganda to drive cat lovers out of the city.
Yeah. See what we did there. Calling all you fungus enthusiasts, apparently there is some traction to decriminalize psychedelic mushrooms in Grand Rapids as soon as this coming fall election, just in time for Electric Forest to come back next year. Yep, the First Ward City Commissioner Hurlburt said his colleagues were very open-minded and had a lot of questions. So it sounds like he just gave them mushrooms. If this goes through, this fun guy knows what he's getting everybody in their stocking this Christmas. So, yeah, look at that. That's horrifying.
Some critics of the proposed law seem most reluctant to decriminalize without restructuring other very important legal codes, such as recriminalizing those damn scooters.
Yeah, come on.
You don't want them. And to be honest, Colorado already did this in 2018, so Grand Rapids, once again, is just smaller, flatter, and 3 years behind Denver.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. There was a primary election last week, surprisingly, with very little on the ballot for most people, except for a millage for blah, 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 schools or something. Because even though it's not a national election, there's still just enough engaged political nerds on your Facebook timeline reminding you to post your vote sticker selfie out of guilt of civic duty. So get out there, post that selfie. Last week.
An LA man who only goes by Edward posted a video online a few weeks ago claiming to be a time traveler with photographic evidence of a flooded LA climate change. He said he was working in the lab in 2004 and he was chosen to travel to the year 5000 as an experiment, which already his story is suspect. Digital cameras in 2004 kind of sucked.
Yeah, so not that good.
Not been a good picture. On the other hand, everything looks like it was made of wood, so I guess we solved deforestation. Yay. Skeptics immediately claimed that the image was photoshopped, so he brought out even more believable pictures. Yeah. Edwards said his biggest regret from being so far in the future is that he's bummed that he missed the Jonas Brothers reunion in the year 3000. That guy.
Burning up. And now it's time for our air travel news story roundup. Yeah. Oh, so some of you may have heard a 22-year-old man was duct taped to his seat by employees and fellow passengers after he repeatedly harassed and even groped several flight attendants after only 2 drinks. Man, I remember my first watered-down cocktail. He apparently even spilled a 3rd drink on himself and then removed his shirt and started walking around the cabin shirtless, which is then when he was subdued and restrained. Now, I know we say this a lot, but this has got to be some sort of viral marketing for duct tape. You know, keep your assaults at bay with duct tape.
Speaking of low spirits, Spirit Airlines is in shambles. The company canceled hundreds of flights last week as the airline grapples with an IT outage, bad weather, worker shortages, and peak summer demand, a company spokesman told NBC News. By 11 a.m. last Wednesday, Spirit had canceled 49% of its flights. That's 341 flights in total. Its 4th consecutive day, the carrier has had widespread operational difficulties. These passengers just don't get it with Spirit Airlines. You now have to add on that you want to get to your destination when you buy the original ticket. It's $48, but totally worth it.
Yeah.
At this point, you're more likely to go there faster by just hopping on over to Spirit Halloween's and giving yourself a broom's witch.
Yeah.
Broom's
witch. Yeah.
Either will get you there.
Whew. An Indonesian man, we're both doing so good. Indonesian man was arrested upon reaching his destination after he faked being his own wife to skirt COVID flying restrictions. The man, who had recently tested positive for COVID, used his wife's vaccination documents to get past security. He was then caught when he changed out of a headscarf in the bathroom of the plane like he was a superhero whose only power was a lack of human decency. And even though he was arrested, he still got on a plane and in the air, which is the scary part. I mean, talk about a wife swap. Despite dressing like his wife, stealing his wife's identity, and putting his wife at legal risk by association, he still only has to do 40% of the housework. He gets away with it.
This is like the extreme version of when you see a couple at Meijer and only one of them is wearing a mask.
Yeah.
Like, joint Facebook accounts do not mean joint immunity.
Yeah, no.
Hot take, more successful plan, hear me out, would have been to just get the vaccine.
Yeah.
Or maybe this man plans on selling his story to be the basis of the product. Mrs. Doubtfire 2, QAnon edition.
Yeah. This is that creepy.